EGM Network.
Hey, this is Bill Crafton back again, podcast number 13. We're going to take a look at the first and second podcast, which kind of focus on what's going on within the Department of Justice and ICE, because not a whole lot's probably been done relative to that. But anyway, I'm here with Evergreen Media, and they're absolutely the best. I met with them earlier this week, and they're very easy to work with, very easy to talk with. They're here to support anybody that would like to do a podcast.
Thanks, Bill.
And the guy running the show here with me every time, Jesse James, quick on the draw, man. There's nothing this guy can't do. So we're in podcast 13, and I always ask Jesse, who wore the Red Sox number 13?
Oh, number 13.
In 1950, 60, 70, or 80?
Billy Dorr.
Nobody.
No, nobody.
Nobody wore 13.
Lucky 13?
I thought you'd get that one for sure, Jesse. Anyway, I just spoke to my sister recently. She had a birthday, and we're exactly 4.5 years difference between us. She's the older one, so she's the smarter one, actually, and I'm just, mucking around here. And the other thing's coming up on Saturday. Don't forget Kentucky Derby.
That's right.
Besides Christmas, I think that might have been my father's favorite day.
Is that right?
Yeah, growing up, we watched the Kentucky Derby every time it was on, through the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Matter of fact, I used to go to my Auntie Aggie's. Last 10 years of her life, we'd watch all the races down there at her house and get a pizza. And it was a great personal time. Anyway, everybody knows I'm not a Dem. I'm not a rep. I'm just an American trying to figure out what's going on in our country with our politics and our government. So, as an American, I've come to the conclusion we definitely deserve better, right?
Yeah.
Jess, do we have that little clip for the...
We do, yeah. This is evidence from NASA that the world is getting warmer. We can call it climate change, you can call it global warming, but there's empirical evidence that the Earth is getting hotter year to year. And this is evidence from 1880 going all the way to 2020. You can see the Earth warming up.
For our radio friends, what you have to do, if you want to see the chart, you really should see the chart. If you think it's a hoax, tune into this podcast and look at the chart. Okay,
Yeah.
The chart is definitely not a hoax. It's put up by NASA, and they're a really credible agency. At least they are so far.
That's right.
And you need to look at it, and it might change your mind if you see what the government's actually putting out. So,
there you go. Find us on YouTube.
Yeah.
At Wake Up America with Bill Crafton.
Okay,
That's YouTube.
And Jesse, I have a little note here. I was looking at Bloomberg. I look at Bloomberg because I try to get like real news
right.
to talk about that people don't necessarily hear. Germany had to shut down their windmills and their solar. Do you know why?
Why did they have to
It was
shut down?
producing too much energy.
Too much.
Free energy. It was producing free energy. So when people say greenhouse gas is a hoax, it's not efficient. If it works in Germany, folks, it'll work in America, So everybody pay attention to that. Greenhouse gas. It's clean and it doesn't pollute and it won't make people sick. Jess, we got the some stuff coming up on the...
Yeah. So we found a Bloomberg article. Climate change is already showing up in the cost of living. So this is from a Bloomberg article recently. Economists want to know how climate change raises prices. Well, economists and central bankers are getting better at linking temperatures to price increases. It says the best way to avoid the damages from climate change is to have a global green transition. That's a direct quote from the article. Absent that, a hotter world will also be a likely pricier world.
That's right. Weather can ruin crops, as we all know, and if there's a consistent trend to go hotter and hotter and hotter, some crops just can't be developed in the areas they're currently being developed in. So I have a new term for that, though, Jess.
What's that?
I call that climate inflation.
Okay.
It is coming. Annually, your price of your food is going to go up based on climate change, whether you realize it or not. Burning coal that is being proposed now by the EPA and the natural gas that's being proposed by the EPA will definitely increase the cost of electricity, and then it's going to cause pollution, and the pollution it's going to cause is going to increase global warming. I mean, it stands to reason, right?
Yeah.
So you got to watch out for climate inflation, folks. As the food keeps going up and you're paying more for your electricity, you're paying more for your food. Remember who's behind it. And we can always vote those guys out, if they stand behind that stuff. So anyway, moving on to the next podcast here.
Yeah, so our first podcast was titled "There is No Justice with the Justice Department." And we talked about how ICE agents under the direction of Greg Bovino, they shot and killed two Americans, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, in the streets of Minneapolis. And there's not really a whole lot of people talking about it. That's why we wanted to talk about it some more.
Yeah, well, actually, I found out something on Bloomberg with Rand Paul. He has some opinions on this, and I think we should share that with them. You may not be aware of what a solid Republican looks like.
Who can you kill, and when can you kill them? Those are questions Republican Senator Rand Paul asked last week
Jesse, can I
after
have
the
the
deaths
headset?
in
Sure.
Minneapolis of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, shot by officers of the Department of Homeland Security. Senator Paul is chair of the Homeland Security Committee, and against the grain of many in his party, he has scheduled a public hearing on Minneapolis. Paul told us he doesn't trust the Trump administration's investigation after top officials failed to tell the truth. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said Alex Preddy was a terrorist who attacked federal officers. That led Senator Paul, Republican of Kentucky, to watch video of the killing again and again.
I saw no evidence. I saw a man that was retreating. I mean, he went to the middle of the street. He didn't even obstruct traffic. He let a car go through. As the agents advanced on him, he retreated to the side of the street. A woman is violently pushed to the ground, and he turns to help her, and that's when he is grabbed from behind. I saw no evidence of him assaulting the police.
Should Secretary Noem be fired?
I think we have to get through our hearing February 12th, and I think we have to see what the people who work for her say. But my advice to them, if they're watching and they come to testify, is if you come in and you're going to justify that this man was aggressively assaulting your police officers, that cannot be acceptable, and that's why they're lacking in trust.
He also says he's concerned about the misstatements of others.
The commander of the Border Patrol operation?
This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
The FBI director didn't tell the truth about Preddy's right to carry a gun?
You cannot bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest that you want. It's that simple. You don't have that right to break the law and incite violence.
The president's advisor, Stephen Miller, called Preddy an assassin. That's a lot of people not telling the truth.
It sounds like terrible judgment. I mean, terrible conclusions, incorrect conclusions, stating things that no one else believes.
You watch that. I watch Maria from time to time on television, and she has these Republicans on, and she will never challenge them what they say. Whatever they say, she lets it go. And I don't know what she's getting paid for. She looks like she's a big promoter. Well, anyway, I look at this stuff here. It's all violating first American rights here, your First Amendment rights as an American. This guy was throwing gas bombs at people and stuff like that, knocking people down. This is America.
Bovino, you're talking about, yeah.
It looks like Russia,
Yeah.
And there's been no real disciplinary action taken. These guys are still on the payroll, as far as I know. I haven't been able to find any disciplinary action at all for what these guys did to these people. And something should be done. Don't you think so, Jess? I
agree. Something should be done. They should be held accountable. At least investigations.
Yep.
At least something. You know, give us something. But Bill, I haven't heard much about Gregory Bovino lately. Do you know where he is today?
Yes, I've been keeping track of Greg.
Okay.
Yeah, he's no longer with ICE. He's been suspended. When I heard he was suspended, I said, "Oh, good." ICE, the Department of Justice, they're waking up. They can't be allowing this stuff. You know what he got suspended for, Jesse?
No, I don't.
I think I have a clip here you could play, and then we could take a little. Everybody listen closely to this clip now. He got suspended for this, not for killing people, but for this clip.
Federal officials were coordinating a Saturday meeting to address the massive surge of immigration enforcement in Minnesota. During the call, Bovino was told that Minnesota U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen, an Orthodox Jew, could not attend because he observes the Jewish Sabbath. Sources say Bovino responded with frustration, allegedly asking, "Do Orthodox criminals also take off on Saturday?"
Yeah, he got suspended for that. A sarcastic remark. So here's a guy who gets suspended for sarcastic remark. 2 people are dead, and nothing happens. What's wrong with this government? I just can't believe it. You know, it's just crazy as it happens. Yeah. So he got suspended. A week later, after he got suspended, he decided to retire. So he's no longer with the agency at all. He's out on his own, whatever he's doing, and I'm basically not following him anymore. Yeah. Okay. So that was pretty much a dramatic fall from grace for Gregory Bovino, because he's one of Donald Trump's big guys out there. You know, making life tough on immigrants, no matter whether they committed a crime or they didn't. So I wonder, when I look at what happened to Gregory Bovino, Jesse, do you think his First Amendment rights might have been violated by him getting fired?
Yeah.
For that comment?
Yeah.
Probably. Is that a free speech comment? Was that something that you can't say?
It's borderline. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess with Gregory, yeah, either do I. But I guess with Gregory, right, what goes around comes around.
There you go. Yeah.
You're caught up with it, right?
I guess so.
Now we had a second podcast, yes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to take a little break here?
Sure.
Is that a good time for you?
Now's a good time to take a break. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. This is Wake Up America with Bill Crafton.
Welcome to Riverside Theater's Comedy Zone, where the comedy is wild, untamed, and downright hilarious. Hit the zone this Friday and Saturday night at 6:30 and 8:30 for the Treasure Coast's best live stand-up comedy show, featuring nationally recognized comedians with cabaret-style seating and food and drink table service. Buy tickets at riversidetheater.com and get ready for a night of non-stop laughs.
Hi, I'm Ryan, owner of Treasure Coast Tree and Land Services. When it comes to your property, there's a difference between some guy with a chainsaw and a certified arborist. Don't take chances with your property. Make sure your tree company is certified, licensed, and insured. Call the professionals, Treasure Coast Tree and Land Services. If you're in the IRC, call Treasure Coast Trees.
Healthy retirement starts at Treasure Coast Community Health. Short waits, easy scheduling, on-site services, wellness visits, chronic care management, and same-day sick visits. Call 772-257-8224 or visit tcchinc.org.
Evergreen Media is your go-to for podcasting. Business owners, boost your brand by educating clients with your own show. Just show up. We handle everything else. Get your custom video podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and more. Start today at egreenmedia.com.
Hello, welcome back to Wake Up America with Bill Crafton. Hey, Bill, welcome back.
Hey, it's great to be here.
We're great that you're joining us here today. Yeah. All right, so we want to introduce another clip. On our second podcast, we talked about border czar Tom Homan. It was entitled "Beware What the Future Will Bring." And in this episode, we talked about how the border czar Tom Homan he took possession of a bag allegedly of $50,000 cash.
I thought it was a double cheeseburger and a French fry.
That's what they're claiming, right? Yeah. So Devlin Barrett, he's a New York Times reporter. He does a lot of extensive research on this topic, the DOJ and the FBI. And we're taking extracts from a New York Times podcast that Devlin Barrett, the New York Times reporter, was a guest on. And he's talking about how Tom Homan was identified to the FBI in this clip here.
I wasn't the only reporter chasing this. MSNBC also figured it out. And so what I eventually came to understand was that there had been, beginning really in 2023, but stretching all the way into this year, a really fascinating investigation that came to include Tom Homan. As it's been described to me by sources, if you go back to the spring of 2023, the FBI in Texas was conducting an undercover investigation related to a particular businessman. And the investigation, my sources were adamant, was not looking at Tom Homan at all. But in the course of that investigation, that businessman told the undercover agents that if those agents who were posing as businessmen looking for government contracts, if they were willing to pay Tom Homan $1 million, he could steer government contracts to them.
So these agents weren't initially fishing for anything related to Tom Homan. They weren't looking at him at that time.
My sources are adamant that no one had asked about Tom Homan. That was brought up unprompted, and Tom Homan just sort of wanders into the picture, wanders into the frame of what the FBI agents are already doing.
Wow.
Hey, that's pretty interesting. The FBI investigating some guy, and the guy gives Tom Homan a glowing recommendation, to the FBI, right? So all of a sudden, Tom Homan becomes a player, right? And we have more about that. But remember, Tom Homan wasn't doing anything, and guy gives him a recommendation, and the FBI look into it to see what this guy's really up to.
Okay, so back to the investigation. What happens next?
So once that businessman just sort of proposes this notion that the undercover agents could pay Tom Homan to get government contracts, a series of conversations follow. This investigation goes on for a long time, but eventually a meeting is set up for September 20th, 2024. And at that meeting, my sources tell me the undercover agents bring $50,000 in cash. And that cash is put in a takeout food bag, a bag from the chain Cava. So what has been described to me is at that meeting, Homan both accepts the cash and seems to convey that he's willing to help them get contracts in the future.
Do we know exactly what he says? Devlin, do we have any specific information about that?
We don't know exactly what he says, and that's obviously a big question in this whole process, but we do know that the FBI agents made an audio recording of the meeting. So somewhere in government files, there exists, I am told, an audio recording of this discussion. And what's been described to me is that Homan accepts the cash and leaves. And that's a great start to an investigation.
It sure is. And if the old FBI, they'd be all over that guy like flies on you know what.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, Jesse, what do you think? Do you think we're ever going to hear that recording?
I doubt it.
I doubt it, too. Do you think we're ever going to get that $50K back? That's taxpayer money, folks.
Taxpayer money. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I guess the Department of Justice, from their perspective, there's nothing wrong with this, right?
Apparently.
Once again, Jesse, no justice in America.
Yeah, apparently.
From the chosen people.
Yeah. So what is the advantage Tom Homan receives by being named a border czar?
Let's find out.
But what matters in this instance is that because there's no Senate confirmation, there's not the same kind of background check scrubbing that goes on for a czar position as there is for a cabinet official or a deputy cabinet official. And that's important in Homan's situation because there is this underlying outstanding case.
Are you saying basically that this might have been intentional, that the Trump administration might have nominated Homan to the czar position in order to avoid a background check?
It's really unclear. But we do know, however, that during the transition, after Trump is elected but before he is sworn into office, federal law enforcement officials notify and essentially warn the incoming administration that this investigation exists into Tom Homan.
And the Trump Justice Department then does inherit this investigation. Walk us through what they do with it.
The short answer is they don't do much of anything with it. The senior officials of that administration look at the case and they don't like it. They're very skeptical that this is anything worth pursuing. And this case that the agents and investigators thought was a very solid case, a very promising start, it just gets closed.
Okay, we know that, well, I know anyway, and now you're going to know that Tom Homan has a nice, cozy relationship with our president. So that maybe works in his advantage. Jared Kushner and the other guy that's doing all the negotiations, they're volunteers. They don't have to report any financial activity they may obtain when they're in the Middle East doing jobs, okay? Tom Homan, no financial requirement to be the border czar. Pam Bondi, unfortunately, couldn't find anything wrong with these tapes, and then later on, Pam Bondi couldn't find anything wrong with the Epstein files. You know, the Epstein files were the super rich people in the United States, powerful people, sexual abusers.
Yeah.
Man, nothing, right? Nothing except for the prince. You know, the prince is like the dummy here. You know, he's the only one getting beat up.
Yeah.
Pam Bondi was subpoenaed to appear before the Senate, and she refused. And just now, I got an update. She may show up in May, so we're going to keep a close eye on that. And by the way, Bill and Hillary Clinton, they both appeared. Okay, it's been testified. So, and they wanted theirs open to the public. I don't think Pam Bondi's is going to be open to the public. So my final comment about this particular piece is what a cast of characters we have running the Department of Justice. Just
yeah, no kidding. Yeah,
isn't tough.
Yeah, when they say justice is blind, that's not how it's supposed to go.
Yeah, I know.
So the Biden Department of Justice was handling the FBI Tom Homan investigation originally, but after the election, the investigation was turned over to the Trump DOJ. What did they do with the investigation?
So, Devlin, once this story breaks about the investigation and about the ending of the investigation, what happens? How does the Trump administration respond? Do they explain their decision to drop this case?
So when we asked the Justice Department to explain, why was this case closed, the FBI Director, Kash Patel, and the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, said that, it was reviewed by agents and prosecutors, and they said those agents and prosecutors found no credible evidence of any criminal wrongdoing. They basically called it a baseless investigation, and that's why they say they closed it.
They don't mention the bag of cash specifically?
They don't mention the bag of cash, and that becomes a real focal point of all the questions that follow about what the administration did here and why they did it. One of the first very public comments about all this is the White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt.
Does Homan have to return the $50,000? Well, Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight, number one.
Denying that he took the money at all.
Yeah, that's quite a comment from the press secretary. Jesse, I always wonder, these press secretaries supposed to tell the truth?
They're supposed to. They never do.
I don't think this lady tells the truth. Well, she might have, sometimes I'm sure, but basically, on this particular case, it was like, what are you talking about? Everybody knows it. Now we got the FBI, with Kash Patel and Todd Blanche, the new FBI director. They did the reconnaissance on this tape, right? And maybe, they didn't find anything, but this is what I figure what might have happened. They played the tape, right?
Yeah.
And maybe as we were playing the tape, they didn't turn the volume up so they could hear anything.
Maybe that's it.
You know what I mean? So if they couldn't hear any volume, there's no credible evidence on the tape.
Hey, if you didn't hear it, you don't know about
it. If you didn't hear it, you don't know about it.
I guess.
I think that's pretty much the way it works. Well, anyway, everybody knows I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm an American. I'm not a right-winger. I'm not a left-winger. So as far as I go, man, basically, we're done, Right, Jesse? We're done for this week. So I bet you want to know, Department of Justice, there is no justice. So pay attention, folks, and we got some good stuff coming up next week. I'm going to be starting to do how billionaires should start kicking in to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
I love it.
All right, folks, have a good time. Enjoy your weekend in the Kentucky Derby.
Very good. Yeah, enjoy that Kentucky Derby. Remember, follow us on YouTube. Wake Up America with Bill Crafton on YouTube. And we are on the radio here locally at 2 p.m. Saturdays on 107.9 FM and 1370 AM. I'm Jesse Krisky. That's Bill Crafton. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following Wake Up America with Bill Crafton. Until next week, take care, everybody.
Thank you, Jesse. Hey.